great ministries rise to power because they are in touch with what is going on around them. They fall because they lose touch of what is going on around them. It is very difficult to be in touch with what is going on around you and respond to a felt need, because people respond, people come to you because you have ministered to a felt need, because of your sensitivity to their need. They don't come to you because you want a big church. They don't come to you because you're a dreamer and you got a vision for a great ministry, and so they're going to come help you build that great ministry. They don't come for that reason. People come because you are ministering to a need that they have. And you are ministering to a need that they have because you understand that felt need. The problem is when they come, you get so busy with what you're doing that the very thing that brought you to the top, you often lose. And that is your ability to understand and be sensitive to and be able to respond effectively to a felt need. Because if you're not careful, you will move into a position of power and move out from amongst the very people that you seek to serve. You're not around them anymore. And what really made you great, what really made you sensitive, what really made you effective is that you responded to the felt need that existed around you. And now the needs are changing, and you find yourself in a predicament that you are not really responding to that need like you really want to. There is, in the development of a church, a brand and a concept that has less to do with individuals and has more to do with the philosophy. You must realize, and I see a lot of young pastors in here too, you must not make the mistakes of your predecessors where you think you own the people. Please, please don't be so petty as to snatch people and count heads and brand them like slaves and hoard them like cattle and get all frustrated and fall out with the other preachers because somebody left your church because you think you own the people. You do not own the people. You may have the vision, you may have the concept, you may have the brand. If we were in a corporate environment, you might have the brand, but you don't have the individuals. A friend of mine, I live in Dallas, you know, and so one day I was hanging out with Jerry Jones, and he was talking to me about the Dallas Cowboys, and he said, I'll tell you, they always call you by your first name. They say, Tay-Day. He said, I've been running the Cowboys for a long time now. He said, whenever we go in and get the new picks and drafts for the season, he said, I tell them the Cowboys is a bit like the old wagon train that moved out from the East Coast going to the West. He said, and the wagon train would start out, and they'd say, we're on our way to California to the gold rush. He said, and somewhere along the way, some of the wagons would fall off. He said they would decide to homestead somewhere along the journey, and they would pick a piece of ground, and they would buy it, and they'd move in, they'd make that their house. And along the way, he said some people who did not start out with the train would jump on the wagon train and hitch their horses to ours and travel with us. He said by the time they got through Oregon, maybe half of the wagons behind us were wagons we didn't have before, and half of the wagons that started with us may have dropped off along the way. He said by the time we get through Oregon and we come down through Vegas and we go on past Nevada and we come on into California, he said when we pull up in California, we will say the wagon train has arrived. He said, but we don't mean that the same people who started made it all the way to the end. He said, I tell the Dallas Cowboys, he said, by the end of the season, some of you will have dropped off and new people will have been brought in to replace it. But when we get to the end of the season, we will still be the Cowboys. Okay? You have to not define yourself by individuals. Because some people will come and some people will go. Some people will join with you and some people will leave out from you, and you have to see that as normal or natural, or you will fight something that is natural and waste your energy trying to stop something that is a normal part of the process. Are you hearing what I'm saying? People are going to come, people are going to go. You cannot control the goings and comings of people. So if that can begin to sink down in your head, and you can begin to understand if you're not trying to hold on to individuals and make them come to your church and make them do this and make them do that. Because if you do that, you're going to spend all of your ministry running a nursery. You're going to spend all of your energy and all your effort running a nursery. You're going to go to bed depressed because somebody left your church. Or you're going to go to bed happy because somebody came. Or you're going to be so excited because some celebrity joined your church that you're not going to see anyway. They join your church. They're not faithful. They come in when they're off the road, and that might be once or twice a year, that kind of stuff. They don't understand. People like that are not in your church every Sunday, and you'll be all excited about stuff that really doesn't matter. And it'll take you 3 or 4 years to realize something that I'm going to tell you today. You're not trying to protect and control the individuals and make them and brand them and put New Birth on their hiney or Potter's House on their kneecap and say, this is mine and can't nobody touch them. What you want to protect is the brand. You want to protect the brand, what you stand for, what you're about, what your vision is, what God has called you to do, what God sent you to do. And some wagons are going to get on and some wagons are going to get off, but you're going to keep preaching and developing whoever God sends you, and you're going to be faithful to supply the word of God, and you're going to deliver what he told you to deliver, and it's still going to be the Cowboys, whether the individuals are there or not. KFC is still going to be at KFC, even if the manager quits and the secretary runs away and the cook ran off with the hat check girl, it's still going to be KFC. Yeah, it's still going to be KFC, because if you don't understand that, you're going to be down here in the minutia of leadership rather than understanding that all of this is inherent in the brand. People come, people go, people die, people leave, people backslide, people join, people change their mind. They change their mind about you. They change their mind about Jesus. They change their mind about their wife. They change their mind about their children. So if you change your mind about your wife, you can change your mind about me. What you want to do, if you're going to really remain relative and if you're really going to be effective, you have to begin to do that intentionally. One of the illustrations that I often use, and you may have heard me use it before, but I like it, so I'm going to use it again. And maybe it's because of my age. I grew up in a town where my mama and I used to walk down to the bottom of the hill and catch the bus to go to the grocery store to go to A&P. So I remember A&P. Do y'all remember A&P store? Yeah, we'd catch the bus, and we didn't. Could Mama drive? I don't know whether I don't think she could even drive there. And so that's why we caught the bus. Plus, we didn't have no car, so we caught the bus, and we went down to get groceries. Now, that sounds horrible today, because we come back with bags of groceries, catch the bus, walk across the bridge, and go up the railroad tracks and come up the hill and going back to the house. We went to A&P. So I remember A&P, and I understood A&P real good. It was one of the strongest grocery stores in the U.S. at the time. A&P was absolutely everywhere with all those bars. Remember, 5 cans of corn for $1 and 6 cans of green beans for 99 cents and all that kind of stuff. Sounds crazy, but that's the way it was. 4 loaves of bread for $1. A&P was hot. They were rocking, they were rolling, they were doing good stuff. And let me tell you something, one of the most dangerous things you can be is successful. Because you take for granted where you are. And so A&P was so successful that Kroger's came along, and Kroger's came along with the Superstore. And they came along with the Superstore, and they started doing stuff that A&P thought was funny. Like they started offering pharmaceutical products where you could get your prescription filled right at the grocery store. And they started selling cooked food. Well, Lordy day, they started selling cooked food. And they even had bank service where you could stop there and go to the bank and you could do everything in one stop. And A&P said, we are not changing. We know who we are. We're going to stay where we are. We're going to do what we do. And we're going to slash prices and we're going to beat them down and we're going to win. So that's how you got the 5 cans for $1 and the 4 loaves of bread for 99 cents and all that kind of stuff, because their way of retaliating against competition was to slash prices. But when you slash prices, you also lower quality. And if you remember back in that era, you remember how A&P stores started getting dirty and they weren't clean, and you go in there and you remember that? And the floor wasn't waxed. I never did know why. Well, see, they weren't clean because they were running out of money. And they were running out of money because they were fighting by slashing the price to compete with the competitors. And you will never go up going down on quality to compromise your quality just to compete with your adversaries. And they started going down. Well, you know the end of the story. A&P went out of business and Kroger's absolutely exploded because Kroger's understood that moms had gone to work, life had gotten busier, the needs of their customers had changed. They didn't want to stop 5 times on the way home. They wanted to stop one time and do the banking and do the pharmaceutical. And by the way, I'm getting groceries, but I'm not cooking when I get home because I spent my cooking time going to the grocery store. So I'm going to get something hot to get me through the night, and then I'll cook the rest of the week. They understood their customers. And I am concerned today because many, many times we are trying to minister to people that we don't understand. And we're in the face of God, and we're in everybody else's face, and we're running around with a bunch of preachers, and we're trying to be important, and we're trying to fit in the clique of our new sociological environment, but you are out of touch with the people in the pews. And if you lose touch with the people in the pews, you are going to lose their support because they're not having their needs met because you no longer understand your base. Can we talk about this? How in the world, and I've been doing both spiritual and Christian development, so I'm going to go back and forth between the two, so just bear with me for a minute. But I can't understand how in the world did Blockbusters let Netflix whip their hind end like they did in the market. Blockbusters was absolutely everywhere. Everybody went to Blockbusters. Rich folks, poor folks, black folks, white folks, Latino, everybody met at Blockbusters. After work, you remember the long lines trying to get into Blockbusters, and everybody's renting 3 for 1 and 1 for 3, and this one for 5 days, this one for 2 days. And as soon as you come to the store, welcome to Blockbusters. Good morning, how are you? They were talking to you. They had it going on. Didn't they have it? Well, the CEO of Blockbusters, I bought my old house that I used to live in. It's a house that I bought from him. So I understand they had it going on. They were doing the do. Just big time, just doing the do. So busy doing what they do that they didn't notice that the world was changing around them. And they looked around in no time at all. Here comes this concept, which incidentally was pitched to them first. But because they thought that they didn't need to change, they said, we're not going online to provide, what kind of stuff is that where they can get the movies online for 99 cents and all of that? What we got is working. And in the arrogance of their success, they lost the art of listening. And this is one of the dangers of winning, is that in the arrogance of success, you lose the art of listening. And when you lose the art of listening, even though you're winning right now, you won't win very long because you're no longer listening to the way the world has changed. They turned it down. A bunch of people sitting up in a boardroom, scratching on themselves and smoking pipes and stuff. They turned it down because a lot of times the people who make decisions for you make decisions based on how things used to be. And I thought it was worth talking to you about because I don't know who you listen to and who works with you and who makes decisions with you or for you, around you, or even want to talk to you. But it's dangerous to have people around you who are stuck on what used to work. And there you are in a situation. So they turned it down and they kept on making money. Who were doing real good for a few years, and everybody was going to Blockbuster. And there was this little company coming up behind them. They didn't even look back because who cares about what they're doing over there? We control all the franchise. We're winning. We're the multi-billion-dollar corporation. And here comes this little Netflix up behind them. And the only thing Netflix had going for them is that they understood the times. Do you understand the times? Or is your ministry a Blockbuster ministry in a Netflix world? Because, see, let me tell you something. Everything is about models and patterns. And Blockbusters had an antiquated model and pattern in an innovative world. An antiquated pattern in an innovative world. If you're going to build a church today, you cannot use your grandmother's model. Even though she won with it. Even though your predecessor won with it. And I'm wondering, do you have the pattern and the model that discerns the times that we live? Or are you using an antiquated pattern that doesn't work? My mama had a washing machine down in the basement